Hello, and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to talk about increasing revenue and seeing more patients with artificial intelligence. And our guest today is Mansoor Ahmed. Mansoor is a serial entrepreneur and has a great successful track record in startups and exits. In 2018, he acquired a majority ownership in Spectrum Physical Therapy Consultants in the Southwest, where he improved revenue by adding multiple locations and automating processes. And in 2023, he actually founded Wiz Health, which has developed an AI platform with a suite of different solutions for the physical therapy industry, aiming to make that front desk more automated and the patient experience elevated. So Mansoor is going to talk to us today about how his company is using AI to help PT owners streamline their processes and their practice. So welcome, Mansoor.
Thank you, Neil.
Great to
Appreciate
have you here. So let's dive right in here. There's a lot to unpack here with AI. And I believe Wiz Health is your second physical therapy related business, but you don't really have a personally a background as a PT. So what attracted you to this space as a place to start and grow businesses?
Yeah, the fundamentals of the physical therapy space are very attractive. People are living longer, and so you have a larger portion of the population which is older, but also very active. And both these factors lead to higher utilization of physical therapy. And physical therapy is also an inexpensive solution compared to surgery. And it's estimated that over 90% of the population that really needs PT does not get PT because of lack of awareness and education. So there's a huge demand. And so that's why this industry is so attractive. But we also have some challenges. And you can think about staffing shortages, declining reimbursements, and administrative burden. But I believe that even though some of these challenges are harder to solve, there are others like administrative burden, which I believe we can alleviate.
Yeah, absolutely. And so why did you start Wiz Health?
Yeah, I think my background was in developing solutions in healthcare. And so when I acquired Spectrum Therapy, I really gained deep insight into the end-to-end processes. I realized that there were some processes which required the human connection, helping elderly patients, for example, but there were other tasks which were just burdensome and monotonous. So, for example, why do you need the physical therapist or the front desk to fax reports to payers or physicians? I mean, it can be completely automated. So that's why we started breaking down the jobs into tasks and seeing which of these tasks can be automated. And that's why I started with health, because we wanted to provide tools which alleviated the administrative burden.
Excellent. Yeah, I know running a clinic and having friends that run clinics, and obviously lots of clients that we help that run clinics. The front desk, it's a challenging area. It requires a lot of skill for the pay rate that it's at, right? And so they need to be able to sell, they need to be able to verify insurance, they need to be able to schedule properly, they need to coordinate all these kind of things that are happening, right? And so you're asking for a lot of times a unicorn at that front desk, right, to be able to do all these things. And so it can be a real headache trying to find someone to come in. You have to find someone who's very good at being personable, right? To relate with patients as they come through, but then also good analytical so that they can do data entry, right? And manage schedules and stuff. And so that's kind of a hard thing to find, someone who's both very analytical and data, able to manage data, and then someone who's very good with people, right? And be very personable. And so, for you, like what gap does with Wiz Health fill in that industry, especially at the front desk?
So if you think about the challenges at the front desk, you know, these folks are multitasking, and it's not easy taking phone calls, taking a patient payment, scheduling. And so these, when you do so many tasks at one time, the chances are that you might make mistakes or you might forget doing some critical piece of the task.
Mhm.
So the way we look at it is if there's a certain task that can be completely automated and that burden is removed from the front desk, that streamlines the process and it makes the job of the front desk so much easier. And one of the biggest challenges we had at our clinics was we had high turnover at this position. And it takes several months to train a front desk person.
Mhm.
And once they leave, they take the knowledge away. So what we decided to do was we decided to build the knowledge into the product so that it's easier when you have to train a front desk. You don't need to go through every single piece of the process. You just need to train them on certain tasks. Most of the patient-facing tasks can be done by the front desk, but the rest of the tasks can be done, using software and automation.
Yeah, and if we look at other industries, healthcare tends to lag behind a lot of other industries, right? In how
Mhm.
people are interfacing with that company or that particular industry. And so, if you think about, geez, even going for like a haircut appointment, right? You can pretty much just book it all online yourself, times, anything like that. And then it tells you, hey, it's time to come in, come walk in now. And then boom, you're there with your, hairstylist getting your hair cut. In the healthcare industry, we're still kind of reliant on the methodologies that we had, say, 10, 15 years ago. And still, we're starting to put a little bit more automation into that, but it's nowhere near where these other industries are today.
Absolutely right. And some of the challenges which are specific to healthcare is you need to be able to verify the insurance before the patient comes in. You need to figure out whether an authorization is needed or not. And you need to be able to tell the patient this is what your estimated responsibility is. And if you can't do that within 2 or 3 seconds, you have to then call the patient back. And once you call the patient back, it's much harder to get a hold of the patient. They
Mhm.
might be at work, they might be driving. And so this becomes, a back and forth game. So the way to solve it is really to figure out a way to enable the front desk to immediately provide the answers that the patient wants. When can I come in? How much is it going to cost me? And if you can answer those two questions within a couple of seconds, you can get that referral.
And it's a much better patient experience, right? That
Exactly.
there's
Right.
not this frustration of trying to like go back and forth on phone calls and, oh, let me check with your insurance. And it might take them a day to get back to you if they've done eligibility. And then even then it might not be like, sometimes it's not 100% accurate on that. So then
Exactly.
there's a misunderstanding in terms of what was said. There could be some data entry problems that were, mistakes that were made by the front desk and they took down information. So there's layers upon layers of frustration that can build with the patient experience, which is ultimately what we're trying to make sure we have an amazing patient experience for them. And I do like the way that you've approached things and how can we make that easier on the front desk and also a much easier patient experience for our patients.
Absolutely.
So let's chat a little bit here about AI and using AI because there's a lot of talk about AI. We're thinking about using it in the clinic a lot of times for documentation purposes, but there's new ways of thinking and that we can start to leverage AI in some other areas, especially in the administration side of things. And so can you talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that?
Sure. So let's say you get a fax referral from a physician. Well, in today's process, the front desk has to look at the fax, input the data into the system, and then go into websites to check their eligibility or make a phone call and then manually calculate whether the patient owes a certain amount of money for the visit, patient estimated patient responsibility, and they usually check like a check cheat sheet to find out whether an auth is needed or not. I
Mhm.
mean, this whole process is so broken. So the way we are using AI is when a referral comes in, we automatically extract all the data needed because all the data is available right there. So you use Gen
Right in the
AI to get
facts?
that in. Yeah, use Gen AI to extract the data out, and then we immediately send API calls to clearinghouses, etc., to get the data back. We have very sophisticated databases which tell us whether auths are needed or not. And then we have automated estimated patient responsibility rules, and those rules help us calculate the patient responsibility. And all this can be done within 2 or 3 seconds, literally.
Wow.
So now what you're doing is you're eliminating the burden on the front desk because they don't have to do all of this in order to get a patient estimate, in order to figure out whether the patient is eligible, what the benefits are, and if an auth is needed or not. So that is how we are using AI.
So
Another,
let's come back to that so that because there's a lot of like incredible information coming in here. So the process is that a doctor sends over the facts.
Mhm,
The AI reads the facts and gets all the data out of it. It then determines the eligibility of the patient from their information, and then
mhm,
within a few seconds, the front desk has that information from that referral. If the depending on that insurance they have, whether they need authorization or not, how many visits that they're allowed, what would be their copay or anything like that, all done
correct,
within seconds.
right.
That's pretty
And
amazing.
yeah, and so when you provide that kind of feedback to the front desk, you don't have to depend upon their skill sets or them knowing what's the difference between coinsurance and copay, what's the difference between out of pocket and deductibles. All that information is provided to them in a very simple manner. We also automatically create a PDF, which is an estimated patient responsibility, which they can print and give to the patient or email to the patient immediately.
Mhm.
So what we have done is really streamline the front desk process and make life for them a whole lot easier. And the other thing that AI does for us is it detects any errors. And I'll give you a small example, Neil. You know, the patient might say, "Hey, my name is John Smith." But in Medicare system, it's John Smith Jr.
Oh,
So
okay.
when they send a claim, they're expecting John Smith Jr., right?
Mhm.
What our software does is it automatically fixes that error. And so when the claim is sent, it's clean.
Mm.
You don't have rejection because of that. So that's why we are using these tools to help the front desk minimize errors.
Yeah, because there's so many points of data entry, right? And you have to like enter things in multiple times on different systems, and it becomes a headache. And like just those simple things right there, it can cause mistakes to happen, and then you send a bill out and you're waiting to get paid, you might not know for, a few days, a week, couple weeks, whatever it may be. And now you have to start the cycle all over again, right? And fix the mistake. So there's a lot of labor and labor cost and labor time just to handle all this, administrative work, right? And so that's fantastic wherever you can save time, automate things. I mean, that's going to be the practice of the future, right? Where
Absolutely.
where we got to play within this broken healthcare system, and how can we make it as easy as possible, as automated as possible on these silly administrative tasks just to get paid at the end of the day. Um, so we can put our attention on making sure the patients show up for PT, making sure that we're servicing them well, that they're getting good results, and then we're able to keep that relationship going with them.
Do you want more freedom in your clinic? Then you need to work on your business, not just in it. The top practice owners know that they need a marketing system that consistently attracts patients from the internet. And at Practice Promotions, we've helped hundreds of practice owners skyrocket to the top of Google and get more new patients from online. Go to practicepromotions.net/kit to get our free practice marketing sample kit. It includes all our digital marketing tips and tricks that will get you new patients from Google. That's practicepromotions.net/kit, KIT, for a free marketing kit. And now back to the show.
Absolutely.
And so what are some of the ways that you've, obviously incorporated this software in your practice to help you save time and money?
Right. Yeah. And so, you know, like I described before, when a patient calls, if they get all the information they need immediately, then you get a chance to capture that referral.
Mhm.
Right. And that's very, very important because referrals are the lifeblood of any physical therapy clinic. And so the ability to immediately provide information back to the patient and schedule the patient immediately makes sure that you don't lose the referral. And so
Yeah.
that's one way that our product has helped our clinics,
Yeah. I think
capture
that's a
the.
great thing from a marketing perspective, right? So if we look at this from a marketing perspective, even if the patient has had a referral from the physician's offices, typically in the doctor's office these days, what they're doing is giving them a list of places to like, hey, these are preferred PT clinics. Go check them out. They're going to go on Google. This is where the marketing comes in. You want to be at the top of Google, right? They're going to choose you first. But if they call the clinic and it takes a while, like to get the front desk, right? And then asking this information, they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna check your insurance information and I'll get back to you tomorrow. Now they call another clinic, and that clinic B can give them the information immediately over the phone. I mean, who are you going to choose? I'm probably going to go with clinic B, right?
Absolutely. And that is the way that our clients are utilizing our tool. And the other thing that we have seen is that they have reduced the training time for any new front desk folks. And that in itself is savings.
Mhm.
And the third way we've seen it is that we've seen some large groups where you don't need so many, they had a centralized team doing eligibility. You don't need that many folks there. When the system is automated, they were able
Mhm.
to move some of the folks to different processes. So that again is an overhead reduction, and in a time when we have declining reimbursement, that becomes very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think too, like it allows you to find the right fit for the front desk, right? So instead of trying to have someone that does all these different kinds of tasks and interactions, what if you could find someone that was really a great people person? And then they have a lot of the administrative stuff being more automated. You're going to have much better patient retention because you've got someone at the front desk that's well trained on being a great people person and getting them to arrive for their appointments and things like that. Not someone, and maybe that kind of person may make a few more errors with data entry, right? But if they don't have to do the data entry because it's automated, then that allows you to find that right person for the front desk.
Absolutely. Good
Yeah.
point.
And so you have I know a variety of different solutions here, but talk to us a little bit about Wiz eligibility. And enabling PT clinics to obviously schedule and get more of those referrals. And how does that differ from other softwares that are out there on the market?
Yeah. So there are no specific products that we've seen which are specific to PT, and speech. And what our product we do is we customize the tool so that it fits that particular clinic. Usually what we have seen, Neil, is about 20 to 25% of payers for any given clinic may be local payers or specific to them where they have their own requirements. And so what we do is we take the time during the setup to understand all the rules, understand how the benefits are calculated for 90 to 95% of their entire volume. And then we go ahead and test it. We have user acceptance testing period for a couple of weeks so that they are very confident about what they're getting. And once that is done for one or two clinics, we can then switch it on for the rest of the clinics. So there's nothing that I have seen so far which does all of this for PT.
Mhm.
And that's why we believe, we have an app which is different. So the way I think about Wiz is that when you buy a new iPhone, you have several apps which come with the phone, but then you need maybe a specific app for your banking. So you go download Wells Fargo, Bank of America, whatever, and that helps you do your banking. So think of Wiz eligibility as an app for automation of the front desk. And so Wiz works in conjunction with EMRs by providing this unique functionality to increase efficiency. Because
Excellent.
most EMRs don't have that functionality built in.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is like, how does that differ from like what happens with the EMR?
Correct. And that's exactly how it works is You have a specialized app, you're using it for a specific function, and it enhances the overall experience.
Hmm. Excellent. Now, I know you're testing this now in different clients' practices. So I'm curious, like, what results are you seeing with Wiz eligibility?
Yeah. So the first and foremost thing is that our clients are able to schedule patients immediately, right on the phone, right? So that's one huge benefit. Like you said, from a marketing perspective, from a patient satisfaction perspective, that's huge. Cost reductions, because you don't need that many folks in a centralized um, office doing eligibility. And so reducing overhead costs is another benefit. And we just built this feature where we are automatically fixing the front desk errors. I don't know if you know this, but 67% of claims, first pass, they get denied because of errors. Errors with patient names, subscriber IDs, date of birth. Those are simple errors which cause major headaches
Hmm.
for the billing practice, for the billing side of the business. And so all those are being now eliminated because we are automatically fixing, what the payer expects.
That's
And so
great.
we
Yeah, when you don't have
expect
to wait for your money, right?
faster cash flow. Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And so, like, what do you see 5 years from now with like how clinics are using AI in their businesses? What is that going to look like?
Yeah. I think AI documentation will be used by almost every PT. You'll
Mhm.
see that. The patient scheduling process will be seamless. It's almost like booking dinner reservation at a restaurant using Open Table. You just go select and bingo, that's it. The front desk process of eligibility, authorizations, patient estimate, all that will be automated. And then on the back end, we expect a lot of the RCM processes to be automated. I mean, there is right now a lot of manual work which goes on, but there's no reason why it can't be further automated on the back end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, this and things are coming fast, right? And we all know that the cost of doing business keeps going up, right? And reimbursements flat or declining. So unless we can't think about relying on what payers are going to do, right? They're always going to be trying to cut costs, right? So we need to be able to look at efficiency within the clinic. We also need to be able to look at how can we add additional value, cash value services into our business, whether that's massage, acupuncture, whatever other services you can add to bring the cost or the value per patient actually up on each visit. And I think for those additional services, again, that's where like AI scheduling can be very handy if the patient can just schedule themselves in for, let's say, an acupuncture treatment, or they can schedule themselves in for a laser treatment or whatever you may be offering in there. And we do see that with some of our clients that bring in, say, personal training, or they have a gym component. And there's gym softwares that have a lot of that functionality, but the EMRs and those kind of things don't have as much functionality with the automations. But you do see that with those clinics that add those other cash value services in, that those type of softwares are a bit more ahead of the curve in terms of some automations and that patient experience.
Absolutely.
And so, we've got Wiz eligibility, but I believe there's also Wiz scheduling right now. I
Mhm.
got to see some of this. It was pretty
Yeah.
incredible. So can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah. So, the way this schedule works is very similar to Google Maps. In Google Maps, when you put in a destination, it knows the shortest distance, it knows the traffic conditions, and it tells you this is the best route. It
Hmm.
also gives you a backup route. And so the way with schedule works is when a patient wants to make an appointment, it gives them the best slot because it knows the patient, it knows the demographics of the patient, it knows the location of the patient, respect to where they are,
Hmm.
and from distance from their house to the clinic. And so it does all those calculations, and it also takes in the clinic's rules. So, for example, a clinic may have a preference. They might say, look, we would like to keep our busy slots between 8 and 10 for folks who are going to work. and slots between 4 and 6 for athletes or people coming back from work. So maybe we should schedule patients who are retired or elderly patients during, the time when the clinic is not that busy. So
Hmm.
that's a rule, a preference that can be taken into account, and the software can take every single thing into account to actually schedule a patient. A patient may also want to say, well, I would like to see a female therapist. How does the front desk remember all of this? It's almost humanly impossible. So what our software does is it takes everything into account and then makes a recommendation and says, this is the best slot, but again, this is a backup slot. And so scheduling, we believe that we can actually optimize scheduling to serve the patient and make, really provide a great experience, but also to increase profitability, because you can
Yeah.
set rules within the software.
I love that because it's taken scheduling to a whole new level. And the thing with scheduling is sometimes if you give too much choice, then there's too much freedom and it can interfere with things. And I love what you said there about, keeping, certain slots times available for different demographics and different groups, right? And what can be done there. And then um, if you give them choice but less choice, then it works better for your schedule and how you can run your day and be more efficient. And then, you're also giving choice and selection to your patients.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And have you done anything with, I'm curious, have you done anything with, if it's the therapist recommends 2 times a week or 3 times a week, and does it do anything to like help book out that range of treatments?
Entire plan of care. Of course, it does
Yeah.
all of that. It puts out the plan of care. It also, what it does is it detects conflicts. So most of the software right now, a PT may be out for a
Okay.
certain day,
Yeah.
and the patient wants to be seen only with that PT. Well, it automatically detects conflicts and tells you, look, we're booking out the entire plan of care. We've got 12 visits on these days, but on that particular day, you may have a conflict. And it
Hmm.
helps you resolve that conflict automatically.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is really simplifying the job of the front desk
Hmm.
by building in all this automation. It also takes into account, for example, probability of arrival. So it calculates based on the patient's profile whether they will show up for the next visit or not. And yeah, and it's simple, and it's possible to actually predict a patient's probability of arrival. There are
Wow.
several factors which go into that. And if you know that a patient's probability of arrival is very low, you may want to double book that slot.
Mm. So if you have a frequent offender who's doesn't show,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
it'll
So,
double book.
right.
I love it. That's great. And I was just thinking, when they, one thing that was like, you want them to book out for that plan of care. And a lot of times you'd hear like, oh yeah, I maybe can get this couple days in here, but then I got to look at my calendar and everything. And they maybe have to go home and figure, talk with their spouse or whatever. But what's great is they could do all that from home too, is booking out their plan of care, right? Their treatment.
Yeah. So the next version of our software will allow them to do it. Right now, our goal has been focused more on the front desk experience to make it so simple and more efficient for them.
Hmm.
Uh, But clearly, there's no reason why this can be moved to the website, to the portal, so that
Right.
they can then do it themselves.
And then
Absolutely.
I'm curious, is there a way that they're talking to each other? Probably because it's all integrated in the system, but let's say they have an authorization for 6 visits, and then it would know when the eligibility is coming up, give a notice or
The
something like.
authorization is coming up, correct. And it
Yeah.
would want the front desk upfront. So the next on our product map, we have automated authorizations. And Neil, I've done this in the past for imaging. We developed an automated system which handled authorizations, submitted auths, brought back auths for MRIs, CTs. And so we've looked at that for physical therapy, and within the next few months, we'll be releasing that. We're very excited about that because it really then takes away another burden from the front desk.
Hmm. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so things are happening so fast here in the space. And as I said before, I think those clinics that really embrace AI, embrace technologies, and how can they automate, how can they increase efficiency, those are going to be the ones that thrive in today's economy, right?
Yeah.
And so, Mansoor, for you, in kind of looking here, final advice here. Let's say you're talking to a PT owner that's overwhelmed in the business. What do you say is one simple step that they can, take to regain their stability, control, and freedom in their practice?
Yeah, PTs who are entrepreneurs try to do too many things themselves. And when I acquired Spectrum, I saw that with my partner, Sandra. So Sandra Terrazas, I mean, very good PT, had, 25 years of experience, but she was trying to run 7 clinics, and it was very hard. And so we sat down and we started talking about what things can you outsource, what things can you delegate, what things can we build processes so that it's much easier to manage. And during one of our sessions, I realized that she was trying to do digital marketing all by herself. And frankly, she didn't have the time and couldn't do a good job there. So I met you at Ascend, and that's when we started working together. And Neil, you were the experts. I mean, you really knew what was needed. And when we put in your systems in place and started partnering with you, we really saw a good ROI on our investment. And one of the things that happened during our sale process, during due diligence, was every single company wanted to see what kind of digital marketing processes do you have in place. And when we showed them what we had, clearly they were impressed, and the whole sale process was expedited. If you have all the right things in place, the sale process goes a whole lot faster. So I think thinking through what's important, what can be delegated, what can be outsourced, and which processes to document. I think that's an important first step for any entrepreneur. And you can't do it all, so you need to find the right partners to work with.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I've definitely learned my lessons over the years. And it's not just one time in business, it's like continual growth in business. You get to a point where you realize you're the bottleneck in your
Right.
business, right? And so then you need to bring an outside source, hire someone with that expertise, whatever it may be, and then you delegate, right? And obviously collaborate, but delegate, and that allows you the bandwidth to be able to go bigger, right? And look bigger and be more visionary. And yeah, I see in any small business, that's the thing is as a business grows, the demands on the owner grow, and then they need the team that they have to build to allow them, to grow the business, which, yeah, it'll grow at the speed of what you can delegate.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Mansoor, thank you so much for sharing your insights on this really innovative technology. I know your business is going to be super successful because it's filling such a demand in the industry.
Thank
And
you.
I would really encourage everybody out there to check out Wiz Health. Is it wizhealth.com? Is it? Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. WizHealth.com. And
wizhealth.com. They got some amazing stuff here. Again, really on that kind of forefront of AI technologies in practice here. And yeah, so go check that out. And then, yeah, for our listeners out there, thank you for being on the podcast here. Don't forget to subscribe to us. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on our social channels. Go to practicepromotions.net because we've got tons of great advice to help you launch your clinic forward. And so, Neil Trickett here from Practice Promotions and the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
Thank you for listening to the Practice Marketing Podcast. Don't forget to get your free practice marketing sample kit at practicepromotions.net/kit. Start 2024 off the right way by building marketing systems that automatically attract new patients from online. That's practicepromotions.net/kit.